Hi. Well, it's another beautiful day, as always, though it's cold. And today I'd like to talk about a few things. Now, what is life all about? Well, a lot of people would say it's about having kids and making money and creating something for yourself. And that's all good, wonderful stuff. Okay? But more than that is recognizing who you are. I know this is hard, but it's something that if you wish to progress on the spiritual path, that's what you have to do. The problem is that right now, most likely, you're playing a part. And that part is bounded by your name, what you do for a living, and everything else that you do. Okay? And although you think it's real and that, you know, everything you're doing is because you decided to do it, it's not. Okay? And life can be overwhelming and we can be forced into choices we don't want, and that's just the way it is. But there's a way out, and that is to awaken. Now, this part that you're playing isn't you. You think you're the experiencer. You think you're the one who is experiencing everything, right? But that's not true either, because you're a soul, or consciousness if you prefer. The experiencer is part of the ego, okay? Until you get free. And that experiencer is led on a journey by the ego towards what it wants, which is to get bigger. So, in order to get free, we have to stop being actors. That's the way it is. You're acting out a part that was made for you by your parents and by everyone else, and that's just the way it is. Okay? You can say, oh no, I'm not acting, I'm living, which is fine. I'm not saying that's not so. But in order to get free, in order to have the freedom of your own emotions, freedom of your own thoughts, okay, and not be pushed into situations where your thoughts and the emotions, are dictated, you have to find out who you are. And we do that by looking within from a place of nowness. Okay? And what that means is trying to see, not think about, not understand, but see who it is you're being. Okay? And what that means is that trying to understand why you are the way you are. We all have certain behavior patterns and a variety of other things about us that are unique to us, and we think that's us. We think we're me, and that those behavior patterns are there because that's the way we want it to be. Okay? But that's not the case. Behavior patterns are there because society put them there. Okay? By trying to constrain your choices into what society wants. Okay? That's just the way it is. Now, in order to awaken, you have to shuck off this experiencer. Okay? And try and see who you are. I know it's hard to see that, but first thing you can do in order to see that is to look at your thoughts. Okay? Your thoughts are a big clue. Okay? And we do that by going into the now, by meditation, or by going into your body's energy field. Okay? And just looking. Not trying to think about it, because as soon as you start thinking, you drop out of the now. And just try and look. Don't judge. It's so easy to judge, isn't it? It's like part of us. But you cannot judge too. Just look at yourself and your life and what have you been doing with it for however long you've been doing it, and try to understand what role or what part you're playing. Okay? And if you're unhappy with that, that's because it's not you. And it never was you. You were pushed and prodded into where you're at right now by everyone, by society itself. Okay? That's just the way it is. And that means that it's not you. And as long as you continue to think it's you, you're going to be unhappy. That is the nature of life. We try to make ourselves fit into these little boxes, okay? Because that's what society wants. They want to control us, okay? Because then society works better. And so that's what they do. They push you into a box, okay? And that's just the way it is. I'm not happy about the way things are, but that's how it is, and it cannot be any other way. And what that means is that it's not you. And if you look at your thoughts, and if you look at what's been going on in your life, you'll see that you didn't want it. You didn't want to be that. You didn't want to be what you are. Maybe you're a doctor, and maybe you did want to be a doctor. But why did you want to be a doctor? Maybe because somebody was pushing you to be a doctor? That's crazy, isn't it? But regardless of what you are on the outside, you have a divine identity on the inside. And that divine identity is your consciousness, your soul. A lot of people don't believe in souls or God, which is fine. I'm not trying to make anyone believe in anything. Anyway, so try and understand that you are a soul. You are consciousness. You are not this body. You're not your face. You're not your body. You're not your mind. All that stuff was added into you after your soul was joined to your egg. Okay? When you came out of that egg, when you were born, you were completely free of everything. And you had joy, didn't you? Of course you did. If you look at any little child who's 2 or 3, they got a lot of joy. And that was part of what you had. Okay? Until the thumb came down on you. The thumb of society. And society tries to mold you through school, through the parental process. And this molding is really bad for you because it stifles your trueness. Okay? Because who you are is true. There's no lies in your soul. There's no lies in your consciousness. You cannot lie to yourself, no matter how much we try to lie to ourselves. It doesn't work, because we all know what's true. So, try to understand who you are. before the body, before the personality, before the face and the mind, before any of that was the soul, the consciousness. That is who you truly are. As long as you think that you're Joe Smith working at a high school as a janitor or anywhere else, okay? You think that's who you are. Before that, you were free. That's all there is to it. And that freedom is available by accepting who you are now. Okay? Which is a soul, consciousness. And whatever may have happened to you in this life, your consciousness is unaffected. It's the same consciousness you had when you were 2. It'll be the same consciousness you have when you're 99. And it's not affected by everything else that's going on. It's always the same, isn't it? You can always see, smell, touch. Even if you're blind, you still have consciousness. Okay? That's the way it is. And nothing can affect that consciousness, because that is who you truly are. As long as you think that you are something else, then you can't be hurt. You can't be affected by the world. And the world wants to affect you. The world wants to change the free self that you were as a child into a productive member of society. Isn't that crazy? But that's what they want. And you must obey. Or you can accept that that's not you. That you're not the one thinking the thoughts. You're not the one deciding on the course of your life. Because you're not. Because there's a thing called the ego, which runs you. And it's basically, it could be considered to be programming, okay, that was done when you were a baby. We don't know what it is. We have no idea what this ego thing is. All we know for sure is that it's there and it's doing things. And what it's doing is not good for you. What is good for you? Peace. Yeah. Love. That's it. Joy. That's what's good for you. But you don't get those. Because why? Because you have been pushed into this part that you're playing. Whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a race car driver, or whatever, you got there because there were forces acting upon you that you were not aware of. Okay? I'm not saying you should stop being a race car driver or stop being a lawyer or a doctor. Obviously, you still have to do what you have to do. But identifying with these things is the path to unhappiness. Did you not get the job you wanted? Do you have to now be a waitress or a mechanic or something you don't want to do? Of course, that happens to everyone. Why? Because we're being pushed by society to be something. And we don't always succeed. It doesn't always work. And so now you feel bad because you're not a doctor, because you're not a race car driver, because you couldn't make the cut, because you weren't enough, right? But the fact is you are enough, because you are an incredible, beautiful, pure soul, unsullied by the world, because the soul cannot be touched. Neither can the consciousness, because it's the same thing. Now, we like to think of things in a way that helps us to understand them in this. We think of the soul as this thing that we have. We own that soul. That's my soul. Okay? Because that's what we've been taught to think. Okay? But it's just not that way. And as long as we believe in untruths, which we do, then you're going to suffer. So try to understand what has been done. The only way out is in. You can't escape through thinking. You can only escape through being, which is not thinking but just being. When you're in the now, no matter how you got there, you are being. And that being allows you to see what it is that's going on with you. You can't see when you're in the trap of your life. I know it's hard to think of your life as being a trap, but that's what it is. Okay? But once you're out of the trap, once you're out of time, then you can see, then you can feel what it is that is going on with you. And your fear and feeling of not being enough and all that stuff adds into make you be who they think you should be. I mean, that's just the way it is. But you don't need to have that fear, because that fear is only there because you think you don't have God in your life. But God is there nonetheless, because he is connected to your soul. And your soul is connected to everyone you love, and so on and so forth. Okay? And it is also connected to everything alive. All of nature. You don't know that because you've been told that you ends at the skin. This is the end of me right here. But it's not that way. You are everything. You are the universe. Now, you don't have to take my word for that. Just go into a forest or any other place that's natural and just try and look. Try and feel. Don't think. And connect with everything. Everything is just waiting for you to connect with it. Are you unhappy? Are you sad? Are you angry? Are you jealous? Do you hate? Right? Of course you do. Because that is the nature of the part that you are playing. Now, I've talked about roles before, but this is beyond a role. This is who you think you are. Okay? This part that you're playing. And it's got a name. That's your name. You think your name is who you are, don't you? When somebody says, who are you? You tell them your name, don't you? But that's just a label that was put upon you by the man, by society, in order to control you. And we need that name. We need that identifier, because we're very insecure about who we are. And that identifier is what helps us feel like we know what's going on, like we're in control. But the fact is, we're not in control. Okay? We are being pushed through life by all these different pressures that are upon us. And that's why it feels so bad sometimes. All these pressures build up and make you feel like bad. But it's possible to let them go. What other people think about you doesn't matter. It just doesn't. In fact, what anyone thinks doesn't matter because thinking is based in the trap of your life. And so any thoughts that you might have about your life are going to be wrong. As much as I love everyone, I don't love what has been done to everyone. And that includes the trap you're in. So, try and understand that you are not the part you're playing. You are not the experiencer. All that is just something laid on top of you long ago. And it's possible to break free from that by letting go. Letting go is so good and gives you such incredible feelings of being free. I know it's hard to let go. We think that we're trying to keep us or you in one piece. That's what we think. We're trying to maintain our lives by keeping you as you. Excuse me. But keeping you as you is only perpetuating the part that you're playing, the part that keeps you unhappy, the part that you were forced to play by society. So, what that means is that it's possible not to play it. You can put it down. You can let it go. Obviously, you have to keep doing your job. Obviously, you have to do what you have to do. But you don't have to do it under the guise of falsehood. I know it's really hard to think of your life as being false, but it is. Because the very thing that you think you are is not you. It's an illusion. And so is a lot of other things that you think too. Like the illusion of time. The illusion of permanence. The world is constantly changing. And it's going to keep doing that because that is what is. And as long as you are trapped into the idea of who you are, as in your name, what you do for a living, what you've done in the past, what you're going to do in the future, all of that is an illusion. Okay? I have a name, yes. I have a legal entity. Okay? But it doesn't define me. What defines me is my identity as a soul, my identity as consciousness. And that is what should define you too. If you want to have freedom, you have to start by accepting that you're not the part you're playing. You're not a doctor. You may act like a doctor and you may do doctor work, but that is not who you are. As long as you keep identifying with this role or part that you're playing, you're going to be unhappy. So, try and accept. I know it's very difficult to accept. Many people have a hard time with that. But it's what you have to do in this world if you want to be free. Accept that you are not a name. You are not a body. You are not a geographical location. You're not a job title. You are a pure, incredibly beautiful soul that has not been sullied by this world, because it can't be. We all talk about how all these bad things have blackened our soul and all that, because we don't understand that the soul is unchanging and unchangeable. And so, therefore, we have to understand that. And we have to understand that that is who you are. As long as you believe that you're something you're not, you're going to be unhappy. That is the source of your unhappiness. Have you ever said to yourself, why am I so unhappy? Why do I feel depressed? Why do I have these emotion storms? The reason is because you don't know who you are. Imagine a sailboat blown by the winds. It tacks right, it tacks left, it tacks right, it tacks left. Slowly going in one direction. But it's not free to go in another direction. It's trapped in that one path. That's you. You know how hard it is to change the path you're on? It's hard, but it's a path that was chosen for you. That's not who you are. Your path is simply part of the part that you're playing. And what we, as people who are trying to get enlightened, need to do or should do is get off that path and get on the spiritual path. That's the whole ball game. As long as we think that what we're doing in this life is important, that we are an important part of the whole, and therefore we have to keep doing what we're doing, because otherwise the world's going to suffer, right? That's what we think, okay? And that's a really good reason to keep doing what you're doing, to keep fixing people or repairing cars or whatever. But it's not you. You're not a mechanic. You're not a doctor. You're not a lawyer. You are a soul. And that soul is free. You are not free now because you are part of a system of control. And that system of control is everything. I know this is hard. I know it's not easy. But try and disassociate yourself from the path you're on. Try and get into the now and see what it is that you're doing. Because you're doing it at the behest of something else. You're not doing it to be true to yourself. You're doing it because it was foreordained for you to do. By society, by the world of man. There's only one thing you need to do in this life, and that is to be. You are a human being. And the human part of you is good and wonderful and beautiful. But the being part of you is so much more. And as long as you think that you're this single, solitary person that's trapped inside this skin, you're going to be unhappy, because that's not who you are. You are everything. You are the universe. The trees, the grass, the worms, the foxes, the turkeys. That is who you are. because each one of those life forms has a connection to God, and you have a connection to God. And that connection to God is who you are. And when you go into nature and you feel the connection, you feel good, don't you? Because you're finally being who you are. Well, time on the wall is telling me it's got to go. I got to go. So, I love you all because you're me, because we're all one thing, God. And as long as we don't know that that's what we are, we're going to be unhappy. I want you to be happy. I want you to have joy, peace, wisdom. And that stuff is available to you through your connection to God. A connection that can be open all the time. But we don't believe there's a connection to God. We think that no such connection exists. Because we can't feel it. Because we are blinded by the light of reason. All right, I guess I should stop. Please remember who you are. Have a great day and a great life.